and helped you lead 2 championships. I mean, Bill Laimbeer played here longer than Bob Lanier. Bill Laimbeer won 2 championships. Bob Lanier didn't win any. And I'm going to tell you 16 deserves to be up there, but not 40? It's a little odd. Vinnie Johnson spent 10 years in Detroit. He helped you win 2 championships. Dave Bing spent 1 last year, and no championships. But Dave Bing deserves and Vinnie Johnson doesn't. You know, the argument is Vinnie Johnson averaged 12 points a game for you. So it's up to the criteria that the organization has. I try and respect it as much as possible. I think you're really reaching with some. In other words, it's the hall of very good. I think a lot of halls of fame have kind of fallen back a little bit on some of their criteria. And it's no longer the greatest of the great players. It's, the best of the very good. And I think that's perhaps the case with a couple of teams or a couple of players that I just mentioned with the Pistons. I saw this post yesterday. It's from sportsiqdata.com. The least intelligent fan bases in the National Football League, according to sportsiqdata.com. John, you're a football guy, right?
Yeah.
You love football. You love baseball.
And by the way, the graphic on that kind of looks like comedian Charlie Barron's.
Okay. I don't know who Charlie Barron's is, but I'll take your word for it. So you've seen the graphic. You know the answers, right? In case people were wondering, 2 of the least intelligent, according to sportsiqdata.com, least intelligent fan bases are in the Lions division, are in the NFC North. Number 1 least intelligent fan base in the NFL, according to sportsiqdata.com, Green Bay Packers. Probably wouldn't go that far. Vikings at number 2. Jets at number 3, which I would say is number 1. 4 is the Cowboys, which I would say is number 2. 5 is the Tennessee Titans. 6 is the Arizona Cardinals. 7, the Baltimore Ravens. 8, the Pittsburgh Steelers. 9, the Seattle Seahawks. 10, the New England Patriots. Here's what I had to ask myself. Is it the most frustrated fan bases or the least intelligent? You don't think the Cardinals should be frustrated? They should be. It can't be the least frustrated because Cleveland and Detroit would be in there. Arizona's been to a Super Bowl, folks. As bad as they are right now, they've been to a Super Bowl. The Lions have not. The Browns have not. To say the Steeler fan base is unintelligent is a little surprising. They live, breathe, sleep, eat, and you know what? Pittsburgh Steelers football. But according to sportsiqdata.com, the Packers, Vikings, Jets, Cowboys, and Titans are the top 5 least intelligent NFL fan bases out there. When we come back, a proof why some old-time athletes can't stand younger dudes making the money that they make. We'll have that when we return on X's and Bros right after this.
Rod Stewart returns to Soaring Eagle Thursday, September 3rd. The Soaring Eagle Summer Outdoor Concert Series with special guest Richard Marx. Tickets start at $71 and are on sale now at the box office and etix.com. One last time, Rod Stewart with Richard Marx, September 3rd. SoaringEagleCasino.com.
Huge here for the incredible Crystal Mountain Resort in Thompsonville, Michigan. If you've never experienced the mountain, it's unbelievable. They offer up 36 holes of championship golf, Betsy Valley, Mountain Ridge, accommodations, a ton of choices. Go to crystalmountain.com, see everything for yourself. One of the top spas in America. They can handle businesses, small groups, big groups, your buddies, the ladies, and more. Book your getaway now at crystalmountain.com. That's crystalmountain.com.
The good life is firecracker savings at Meijer throughout the July 4th weekend. Load up your cart with summertime crowd pleasers like juicy burgers made with 80% lean ground beef. Now just $3.99 a pound on a 3-pound package or larger, limit 5. Sweeten your celebration with fresh favorites. Sweet corn, 4 for $1. And mini seedless watermelons or tender golden pineapples, buy one, get one for $1. Mix or match. Make the 4th your best yet with good life quality at real low prices. Only at Meijer. Exclusions apply. See all deals in the Meijer app.
You know, we're fortunate here in Michigan. We have some of the greatest golf courses in the country. Tullymore and St. Ives is part of the reason we can brag the way we do about our golf. Once you visit Tullymore, you'll keep coming back. The view is breathtaking. The golf is fantastic. The accommodations are regal, and the people are special. It really does feel like a home away from home at Tullymore. Make your play and stay reservations today by going to tullymoregolf.com or by calling 1-800-972-4837. That's 1-800-972-4837.
What's up, Michigan? You're listening to my good friend Shep. The Huge Show is coming up later today at 3, right here on the Michigan Sports Network.
35 after the hour. Welcome back on a Friday, July 3rd. Happy birthday, America. Hope you have a great weekend with friends and family. Tigers lose last night 10-4. Framber Valdez continues to struggle. We talked about it earlier in the show. It's worth repeating that Framber Valdez's performance snapped a Tigers starter streak of 35 straight of allowing no more than 4 runs. Right now, he's got a career worst as a starter. Okay. As a predominant starter, he's got a career worst as an ERA, whip, home runs per 9, strikeouts per 9, ground ball percentage, fly ball percentage, and opponent batting average. It ain't working. Not worth $38 million so far. Doesn't mean you relegate him to the bullpen. Doesn't mean that you sit him down, skip a turn, or anything like that. I'm just saying right now it has not been good enough. He allowed 5 runs, 9 hits, a couple of walks in 5 innings. 10-4 the final. 17 hits for Texas. Detroit had 11. Still wasn't good enough. So they're 12 games under 500. They're 7 games back in the wild card. They're 8 games back in the division. Just giving you an update. All right. Mitch Lyons Wealth poll question for you is this. Which Tigers starter do you trust most? Melton, Mize, Valdez, or Flaherty? We know it's Scooble. So why even put him on there? So we just put the other 4. So go right ahead. Vote as often as you want. It's brought to you by Mitch Lyons and Mitch Lyons Wealth. Call him today, 866-85-STEEL. Go to his website, MitchLyonsWealth.com. Get their Roth Blueprint offer. You can call and speak with the pros at MitchLyonsWealth.com to see if a Roth conversion makes sense for you. Did it make sense for the Pistons to let Tobias Harris walk? Would you have spent 2 years, $31 million to keep him? At age 33, would you have done that? A guy who last year averaged 13.5 and 5.5 for you. Well, it's cheaper than the previous deal you gave him. When he came from Philadelphia, if you recall, he signed a 2-year, $52 million contract. So if you're going 2 years, $31 million, $15.5 million bucks, I would have done it. I think he's still got game. Keeps himself in great shape. He's an influence on the team. I would have used him coming off the bench, but you've got to save money for this team if you want to get certain players. I think John Collins is an upgrade. Age, shooting-wise, shooting threat-wise, I think he's going to have a better year than he had last season. I like that pickup. Now, that's as a free agent. Would I trade for Trey Murphy III? You better believe I would. Okay? I think that's what this team is lacking. I think he's exactly what they could use. John Collins, what Tobias Harris is 33. John Collins is 28. I think he's just turning 29. Similar numbers, but John Collins is a guy who at one point in his career averaged 19.5, 21.5, 19.5, 18.5. I think he can give you more. John Collins will score more than 13.5 points per game this year for the Pistons. I think he'll grab more than 5 rebounds per game for the Pistons. And I think he's going to make close to 2 triples a game for you. Doesn't mean you've solved your outside shooting issues. I'm telling you, early prediction, he stays healthy. That's what he's going to give you. So I like the pickup. But I would not mind a guy like Tobias Harris coming off the bench. I would not mind a guy like Duncan Robinson coming off the bench with Paul Reed and whomever else. All right? Who that is, Danish Jenkins, everybody, they've got to earn that. I think you'd have been better off in that regard. It didn't work out. He's now a San Antonio Spur. And he signed a contract with San Antonio, the 2 years, $31 million. People asked him, why did you do that? He said he wanted to go to a team that was ready to win right now. Not that the Pistons aren't, but let's face it. He gets an opportunity for 2 years. My guess is the Pistons were willing to sign him on a 1-year deal. That means that Tobias Harris has now made $331 million in his NBA career. Let me repeat that. Tobias Harris in his NBA career, and he's been a good NBA player, hasn't been a great one. Tobias Harris has never won a championship. Doesn't mean it's all on him, so don't take it out of context. But a guy who spent 6 years in Philadelphia, 5 years in Detroit, 4 years in Orlando, 2 years with the Clippers, 2 years with the Bucks, or parts of 2 years, and has been a durable player. He's played well over 1,000 games. In his career, he's averaged 16 points and 6 rebounds. 16 points and 6 rebounds in his 15-year career. And he has made, or will make, because it's a guaranteed deal, $331 million. That is mind-numbing. Blows your mind. Let me tell you who that's more than. Okay? It's the same as Tom Brady from the NFL standpoint. But let me tell you who Tobias Harris has made more money than. You ready? Shaquille O'Neal. That's just from an NBA standpoint. Because Shaquille O'Neal has made more money because of endorsements. Although, remember, Tobias Harris had an endorsement with Goldfish. The little cracker. Right. Shaquille O'Neal made, according to NBA websites, $286 million. He's made more than Carmelo Anthony. He's made more than former Piston Blake Griffin. He's made more than Dirk Nowitzki. More than Dwight Howard. Maybe Dwight Howard's getting there because he's in the big three too. I don't know. I doubt it. He's made more than Tim Duncan. He's made more than Chris Bosh. He's made more than Dwayne Wade. He's made more than Tracy McGrady. He's basically, let's see, John 162 and 162. He's doubled what Tracy McGrady made. How stunning is that? The land of the NBA. I mean, I'm not holding it against him. Good for him. But that's mind-blowing to me. Okay, I saw this on NFL.com the other day. There is an article entitled, "Which NFL Players Should Improve in 2026?" If I gave you one player from the Detroit Lions and I said, this is the player they've chosen who will improve, who would you say, John Ilk? One player from the Lions. Who would it be? It's going to be in the realm of San Francisco. They've got Ricky Pearsall. Tennessee, they've got Cam Ward. Minnesota, they've got Kyler Murray. Who's the guy for the Lions you think they would have on a list like this?
I'm
going to give you a hint. Think offensive lineman. The name they have is Tate Ratledge. Now, I think he was a pretty good player for them last year. I mean, considering his rookie status, I know the offensive line wasn't great. I don't think it was a real good thing to have Graham Glasgow at the center position. We said that before the season began. This is not armchair quarterbacking. Tate Ratledge was in a tough spot. He was helped out by Penei Sewell, but he was hurt by Graham Glasgow. And there are some things that he did, I thought, that were encouraging. Here's what NFL.com writes. All right. And it's interesting because I had this debate with my son yesterday. He's so pissed off about Terrion Arnold. And he's made a statement that the Lions should never do something again. And we'll get into that here in a minute, maybe in the top of the hour. I'll get your thoughts on this. But first, let me bring up the Tate Ratledge situation. And we all know that Tate Ratledge is part, whether you like it or not, he's got to wear it. He's part of a group that allowed 38 sacks to Jared Goff, the most in Jared Goff's career. Now, Jared Goff is not fleet of foot. You and I both know that. No one's suggesting he is. But he is a guy who happens to make up for that a little bit by getting rid of the football. He's a smart quarterback. He's a really good quarterback. We told you yesterday the numbers. Nobody in the NFL in each of the last 3 years has thrown for 30 touchdowns or more, thrown for 3,500 yards or more, completed 67% or greater or more. And he's done it 3 years in a row. And he would have done it 4 years in a row, but he only threw 29 touchdown passes. So it's not like this guy isn't accomplished. I think he's underrated a little bit, but let's face it. Last year, he was besieged by defensive linemen. 38 sacks. Now, he is a guy who in his career has taken 30 sacks or more in a season 5 times. So half of the years he's been in the league, he's been sacked at least 30 times. Last year was the season high. Tate Ratledge has to be, he's an ownership of part of those 38 sacks. So is Penei Sewell. So is Christian Mahogany. So every offensive lineman has to own that. This is what NFL.com writes. 2025 was a difficult year for Detroit, a team that entered the season with Super Bowl aspirations and ultimately learned just how important a quality offensive line is for a contending formula. Well, obviously, I don't think it took last year for them to recognize that. I would have hoped that 2 years ago they would have recognized that, being that was the reason that team went 15-2, primary reason went 15-2, and that was their identity. Anyway, I continue. Lost in those trials, and the Lions' disappointing finish was a steady improvement from Ratledge, a second-round pick who was thrown into a rebuilt interior trio, playing alongside a teammate, Graham Glasgow, who wasn't a full-time center for most of his career and was adjusting back to the position. All of it true, right? He's not a good center. It's not his best position. It's not his favorite position. He doesn't excel there. It was a mistake by the Lions. When people are talking about Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell and they want to shed some negative light on it, they want to express some concern or maybe disbelief, or you've got to prove more to me. Instead of using draft picks like the 2024 NFL draft of Terrion Arnold, because you can't make the draft pick of 2025, you can't come to a conclusion yet. It's idiotic. You can't do that. But 2024, you can. That means a player's had at least a couple of years to see if they're getting better. And obviously they did not. So 2024, 2025, 2026, actually, 2 years plus. So if you're going to judge the coach and the general manager, then what you should be doing is using the example of them allowing Graham Glasgow to take over at center and them not doing anything about it. It's another reason why I am convinced that Frank Ragnow's retirement took them by surprise. You and I can debate on whether or not they should have known that. It would have been nice if Frank Ragnow gave them a heads up. They should have recognized how many times he's in the training room and all this other stuff. And maybe heard the whispers. Fine. However, they didn't address it. Even when they did find out, they didn't address it the way they should have. You give up future prospects, I should say, for that position. You don't try to wedge a guy in there who's just not good enough. And that's what they did. Anyway, NFL.com continues. Like many rookies, Ratledge found his time in the crucible to be challenging, to say the least. But he didn't let the adversity consume him. By the end of the season, he was playing his best football, setting up for a strong 2026. Now teamed with free agent center Cade Mays, Ratledge is walking into a better situation in year 2. It won't attract headlines, but if Detroit's offense improves, you'll know Ratledge is playing a key part in the unit's growth. No doubt. Here's the other key to this that isn't written, but I'm sure they know this. They just didn't have the space. He's got to help Blake Miller, the right tackle. Ratledge is going to get some assistance, no doubt, from Cade Mays. How much are you going to have in needing Tate Ratledge help out Blake Miller at the right tackle position? So I think that's a big key for Detroit moving forward. There's no doubt that the Lions offensive line on paper is better. And I would argue at the left guard spot, Christian Mahogany, 6th-round pick, Ben Barch as a free agent, former 4th-round pick, and a guy who has 24 NFL starts under his belt. Now, not all of them at left guard, because he started at tackle, he started at right guard. He actually has 11 starts at right guard, 5 at the left guard position. He's going to challenge for that position, him and Miles Frazier and Christian Mahogany. There's 3 guys, I think, in the mix for that right there. Very cool, right? No question, the offensive line, again, on paper, and if they stay healthy, those are 2 big ifs, is greatly improved from where it was a year ago. We always think that one guy should get better the following season. Obviously, that doesn't happen. DJ Reed wasn't as good last year as he was the year before, right? And actually, if you look at his numbers, to start the year, he was really good in the first 4 games. After he came back from injury, he was terrible. And we're left with that lasting impression. And I understand it, but that's the impression that everybody has and still keeps. And perhaps we need to remember what he was capable of prior to. That's what we're looking at. Anyway, I do think that in general, that offensive line going to be very, very good compared to the way it was the year before. Our phone number on the Meyer hotline is 866-838-4843. You can always text us, Sports Radio 21,000. We've got the Friday 6-pack coming your way at 8:18 here on X's and Bros. When we come back, the debate I had with my son yesterday regarding one Terrion Arnold, who, according to his agents, he's getting at least 3 calls. He'll get at least an opportunity from 3 different teams. Now, he won't be able to play in 2026, so I don't know what good that does them. It's a little confusing to me. But either way, we're going to have a debate about that when we come back here on X's and Bros on a Friday morning, and we're brought to you by Meyer.
Our state is Mecca for golf, and one of Michigan's crown jewels is Tullymore and St. Ives, 2 world-class championship courses in one charming and beautiful location. The golf is challenging but fair. You're going to use every club in your bag. But let me tell you what makes Tullymore really special. It's the people. From the wait staff to the bartenders to the pro shop and the management, their sole purpose is to give you a memorable experience, and they do. Go to TullymoreGolf.com today and experience a Michigan masterpiece.
Huge here for the Michigan High School Athletic Association. You can stay up to date on the latest from Lansing 24/7 at MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. The latest news, press releases, and stories connected to every high school in the state of Michigan, available for you 24/7 from the Michigan High School Athletic Association. Log on to MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. And if you're looking for archive, boys and girls, high school sports, MHSAA.TV. That's MHSAA.TV. 24/7, everything you need to know about high school sports in Michigan. Log on to MHSAA.com.
The good life is firecracker savings at Meijer throughout the July 4th weekend. Load up your cart with summertime crowd pleasers like juicy burgers made with 80% lean ground beef. Now just $3.99 a pound on a 3-pound package or larger, limit 5. Sweeten your celebration with fresh favorites. Sweet corn, 4 for $1. And mini seedless watermelons or tender golden pineapples, buy one, get one for $1. Mix or match. Make the 4th your best yet with good life quality at real low prices. Only at Meijer. Exclusions apply. See all deals in the Meijer app.
Huge here for my good friend Josh Garvey and the team at Dorn Mayhew, West Michigan, one of the world's top accounting, CPA, and business firms. Our worldwide headquarters are in Troy, Michigan, on the east side of the state. And Josh and his team connect with all the sports fans and businesses across Michigan. They bring you John Beeline on the Huge Show. They bring you Lomas Brown during the Lion season. They are a top shelf team when it comes to growth and understanding what their clients need. And mix in when we do the Beat Huge contest or the NCAA March Madness brackets. Thank you, Josh Garvey, for what you do for the Huge Show and the Michigan Sports Network. Simple and easy. Just find Dorn Mayhew on all the social networks or just Google Dorn Mayhew and find out how they can help your business. And again, a special thanks to Josh Garvey and the Dorn Mayhew team in West Michigan.
Final hour of the program here on X's and Bros on this Friday, July 3rd. A happy holiday to you. Welcome back. Matt Shepard with John Ilk, 818. We've got our Friday six-pack brought to you by Garage Beer. I had a debate with my son yesterday where he was complaining about the Terrion Arnold saga. What Lions fan isn't upset about that? I don't blame you. I'm upset about it. I'm upset for a lot of different reasons. First of all, it's a position that you desperately need. Okay. Second of all, you used a first-round pick on a guy that you hope would be a number one overall, a lockdown corner. My son was so upset. He said, I'm so sick and tired of it. They should never draft a corner in the first round. And I said, well, why would you say that? He goes, well, look at what they've done. Jeff Okudah, Terrion Arnold. Who's the last corner who's worked out? I said, Darius Slay. And he said, yeah, see? And how long ago was that? I said, well, so you're telling me that because two guys since haven't worked out, you'd never use a first-round pick on them again? He said, yeah. I said, so if with that logic, you used a first-round pick on a linebacker in Jared Davis in 2017, you shouldn't have drafted Jack Campbell. With that logic, you used a first-round pick on Ernie Sims in 2006, a linebacker out of Florida State. You would never have drafted Jack Campbell. Because Andre Ware didn't work out for you, or Joey Harrington didn't work out for you as first-round quarterback picks, you shouldn't have drafted Matthew Stafford. Right? That's the logic. Oh, and by the way, just so you know, there's a different front office and scouting group that looked at Jeff Okudah compared to those who looked at Terrion Arnold. So he said, well, all I know is, that they shouldn't have drafted him. And I said, okay. Were you aware of what people felt about Terrion Arnold coming out of Alabama? I went back and I looked at this. And again, I'm not saying the Lions were right to draft him. It's easy to sit back and say you shouldn't have done it. But remember, how many times have you and I talked about this? This team needs fill in the blank, edge rusher. This team needs a lockdown corner, right? We say it all the time. I went back and I looked at this for Terrion Arnold. So out of a grade, he got an 86 out of 100 overall. His strengths, according to this, as a round one pick, he was viewed as elite. Fluid as water, plus mirroring, speed borders on elite, aggressive, smart tackler. These are their words, not mine. This is a scouting report, all right? By people who do this on a regular basis, people who make a living off this. I'm sorry, his overall grade was 88.7, not 86. 88.7. Thus, they gave him an elite grade. Weaknesses: doesn't have prototypical size, not high-end press man length. That's it. Here's the scouting report on Terrion Arnold when he came out of Alabama. Dynamic, well-coached inside-out cornerback who's as fluid as water. Floats around the field with ease. Change of direction is a piece of cake and is lightning fast when closing on the football. Springy. Plus mirroring type, often ran routes for wide receivers. Back pedal is low and controlled. Speed is a plus. Chippy within the route and when flying up against the run. Unafraid. Doesn't have the length to be a high-end press man cornerback. Aware of the football arriving and will find it frequently. Aggressive, smart tackler. Reliable. Speed borders on elite. Plus zone instincts. Very difficult to find a talent skill deficiency. That was the scouting report on one Terrion Arnold. Pre-draft workout, ran under a 4.5, Got the verticals, got the shuttle, got the arm length, got the hand size, all that other stuff. Fine. All right. That's what they have. That was his scouting report coming out of college. All right. That's by one NFL website. Another website, Walter Football Camp, which is one of the more accurate football accounts that you can find. Strengths, good height, good length, instinctive, dangerous zone corner. Doesn't panic, plays the ball well, good ball skills, can play man or play press coverage. Ball awareness, great vision, height to match up with big receivers. Here's the weakness, not fast. With his skill set, they write, Arnold definitely has the physical tools to play in the NFL. Possesses quality size alongside good length to match up against big receivers. Okay. They drafted one of the best corners in the country. They drafted a guy coached by arguably the greatest head coach of all time, perhaps in any sport, in Nick Saban. And a guy who, going into that draft as a prospect, many people felt was exceptionally gifted. Freshman All-American, okay, in his first year as a starter. First team All-American. Led the SEC in interceptions. You know, that's what we hear from people all the time, that the SEC is king, right? We hear that you want first-team All-Americans. You want to come from good, big programs, and that's exactly what Detroit was able to gather. And he didn't work out. Frustrating, for sure, okay? So it's a swing and a miss, but it doesn't mean it was the wrong one. So I look back at Jeff Okudah, who was drafted 5th overall. Bob Quinn and company did that. So it's a different group. Jeff Okudah, the strengths going into the draft, ready? In terms of physical tools at the quarterback position, you'd have a hard time finding a player in this class with more than Okudah. 6'1", 200 pounds, defensive back, great length and bulk to keep up with physical, bigger receivers in coverage. Isn't afraid of contact. Jams the opposition well in press coverage. Also a willing tackler who plays with a high motor to run support. His fluidity and athleticism is among the best of any player in the draft. He can change direction on a dime, might have the most flexible hips in the entire class, and his tape showcases impressive acceleration coming out of his breaks and great closing speed when attacking the football. Here's the weakness for Jeff Okudah, who was drafted by the Lions in the first round of 2020, number 5 overall. Okudah isn't an incredibly flawed prospect. There's room to improve. That's it. Maybe a little bit on the technique. The Lions drafted 2 cornerbacks, one out of Alabama, one out of Ohio State, that reek of college football history. Coached by men who are considered among the best in their field of what they do. And viewed by just about every scouting service you can find as A, legitimate first rounders, B, can't miss NFL players. Doesn't mean they'd be number ones, but at least they're NFL players. And C, deserved first round choices. Where they are in that first round is up for debate. Neither one worked out, which is blatantly obvious. It doesn't mean you stop drafting them. Just because 2024 was brutal for all us Lions fans in terms of that draft class. Because Arnold hasn't worked out. Rakestraw has been a disappointment. Giovanni Manu is fighting for a job. Sione Vaki's a special teamer. Makai Wingo doesn't play. And Christian Mahogany didn't look very comfortable a year ago. Doesn't mean you don't quit trying. The problem is when you lose out on a first-round pick, it sets your team back. You are still trying to recover from Jeff Okudah And now you got to recover from Terry and Arnold. Friday six pack is next on X's and Bros.
In the den.
It's a new day to celebrate and be free. It's a new day full of action and excitement because it's a new day for winning. Only at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort, your getaway reimagined. This is Matt Shepard. The Tigers continue their road trip of the weekend series in Texas, fresh off their sweep of the Yankees, who've lost 7 straight, their longest such streak in 3 years. But the story was Detroit's balance in the series. Sure, the Tigers' bats came alive, scoring 22 runs and banging out 28 hits. But the biggest reason for the brooming was the Tigers' starting pitching, where Mize, Skubal, and Melton threw a combined 20 and a third innings, struck out 26, walked just 1, and allowed just 1 earned run. On top of that, Kiter Montero continues to thrive. He pitched 2 scoreless innings Wednesday, becoming a valuable piece to the staff and will play a vital role moving forward this season and beyond this year, especially if Detroit is a seller at the trade deadline. Farrah's Coffee has been family-owned and operated for over 100 years. Its popular Den Blend and Dark Roast is more than coffee and more than the official coffee of the Detroit Lions. It's a call to rise. Farrah's Coffee and the Lions are the perfect match. They embrace those who show up early, cheer loud, and never back down. Den Blend is perfectly roasted in Grand Rapids and provides the ultimate fuel for fans who wake up and roar. Whether you're tailgating at the game or cheering from your couch, Den Blend is your go-to coffee for your game day ritual.
Rod Stewart returns to Soaring Eagle Thursday, September 3rd. The Soaring Eagle Summer Outdoor Concert Series with special guest Richard Marks. Tickets start at $71 and are on sale now at the box office and etix.com. One last time, Rod Stewart with Richard Marks, September 3rd. SoaringEagleCasino.com.
All right, back with you here on X's and Bros, winding our way down to the end of the show and the end of the week as well. 8:35 will give you, I think, reasons that we should be in a celebratory mood. All right, this weekend. I hope you are. I hope you're looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to the Friday six-pack, as we always do at 8:18.
Hey, woo! Just in the nick of
beer. It's my favorite open. Just in the nick of, brought to you by Garage Beer. And we're brought to you this hour by our friends at Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. All right, John L., what do we got for the Friday six-pack here? Brought to you by Garage Beer.
What's your pet peeve on the golf course?
Good one. Pet peeve on the golf course. I would say my pet peeve on the golf course would be those who, so you're playing out of a cart. You play golf, right, John? I assume? Okay.
I actually don't.
Oh, well, maybe you're better for it. You're probably saving some money and anxiety. I love it. Okay, I can't get enough of it. I'm going to play right after the show today. My pet peeve is this. People walk to their ball, shoot the yardage, walk back to their cart, then grab the club. Like, what you should be doing is if you're playing, people in a cart, you should be ready to hit. First of all, we should be playing ready golf. It's not always, well, it's your honor because you just birdied the hole. No. If you're ready to play, play. If you're ready to putt, putt. You can keep it going a little bit. People will go out to their ball, back to their cart, grab their shooter, go back to the ball, shoot it, go back and grab the club. Okay. You know about where you're at. You don't have to be exact. If you're in the cart and you're near your ball, shoot it, take a couple of clubs, then be ready to play. Not sure which one you're taking. Okay. It could be an 8-iron, it could be a 7-iron. Bring them both with you and then see what happens instead of constantly delaying. The setups people, some recreational golfers have is kind of crazy. I'm not saying you should just drive up and hit the ball without thinking, but you can expedite things a little bit if you're doing just that. Also, there's a limited time you should be looking for golf balls. I would say if you give it 3 to 5 minutes, you're probably pretty good shape. 3 at the top end for me. I look a few times, 3 minutes on the clock, then it's time to move on. It's a golf ball. You've got more in your bag. That's my pet peeve. What's next? Excuse me.
What's your favorite ballpark and why?
Okay. Favorite ballpark. I do like Fenway. I love Kauffman Stadium in Kansas City, and I love Pittsburgh. I like PNC Park. Now, I don't like where you broadcast from in Pittsburgh. I think it's too high. But Kansas City, I think, has everything, and it's really underrated. It's too bad they're going to leave that stadium. Fenway and Dodger Stadium reek of baseball tradition, which I think is fantastic. I think there's a lot of really good ballparks. Seattle's really nice. Texas, where the Rangers play, is really nice. Arizona's really nice. Milwaukee's very nice. I don't think there's a lot of bad ballparks anymore in Major League Baseball. Philadelphia is outstanding. I'm trying to think of the one that I don't like going to. I even like Minnesota's, and I never used to like the Metrodome. So I would say the least favorite would be the Chicago White Sox, guaranteed rate ballpark. But though all the other ones, I can't think of a bad one. San Francisco is fantastic. If you could see from the broadcast vantage point where all the things outside the stadium and what you're looking at, just like Detroit, the downtown outside the walls and from the camera angles, and a chance to take a look as you just look around in between innings once in a while, the landscape that it's associated with is fantastic. I don't think there's many bad ones anymore in baseball. I would say Chicago White Sox would be the worst, but if I had to pick one, it might be Kansas City. Next.
Do you marinate, dry rub, sauce, or season the meat on your grill?
Okay, that's a really good one. Yeah, that depends. So we're going to be grilling some different things today. we have marinated our chicken in Italian dressing. If I have ribs, I do like a sauce. I like a barbecue sauce. If it's steaks, I've tried marinating steaks before, and I have not enjoyed it. I don't know about you, but what I like is just sometimes your simple seasoned steak or seasoned burgers. Sometimes it's just a little garlic pepper, or maybe it's depending on what the meat is. But sometimes it's just salt and pepper. Sometimes that's best. But today, when I grill steaks, it'll just be some salt and pepper and maybe a little bit of garlic, salt and pepper. And for the chicken, it's been marinating for 24 hours. It's going to be ideal for that. If I were cooking ribs, it would probably be a barbecue sauce. You like the dry rub, I could take either one. So I'm fine with that, depending on which meat you're putting on the grill. Moving on.
Which team has addressed its needs more? Wings, Pistons, or Lions?
Ooh. I don't think the Pistons are done yet. I hope the Red Wings aren't done yet. I would argue the Wings, just from a toughness standpoint, they haven't gotten the top six forward like you expected. But when you go out and you get a couple of players, including Kolasar, who was 7th in the league in hits a year ago, what is the one complaint we had about each of these teams? The Pistons, you needed 3-point shooting. Did you get it in Isaiah Joe and John Collins? A little bit, not as much as you would like. You would completely reform your look if you got Trey Murphy III. So they've addressed it partially. The Red Wings, with a little tougher edge to them in the bottom six forward, they've addressed that as well, and a decent backup goalie. The Lions addressed it through the draft with Derek Moore and the secondary assistants. The Lions still need to figure out a way what they're going to do if they can do this. Now that Terrion Arnold is gone, can they go out and sign another corner? Are they going to promote from within? Is Keith Abney going to be the guy? That's a hard question to answer. Believe it or not, I do think the Wings, with their toughness, have addressed it. Their biggest need is a top scoring six forward. So they haven't addressed that aspect of it. Pistons' biggest need is another guy who can shoot the rock from deep on a regular basis. They got slightly, but haven't addressed that. The answer is none, because they all have addressed their needs slightly, but not completely. Next.
Because you never know when the last one is, you know. So I know all too well, unfortunately, with
Yes. Yeah, I know all too fortunately, too. What's the next question?
What's the most American win?
The most American win ever. Ooh, that's a tough one. Immediately, I think of Miracle, 1980. But I would say, look, the men and women winning gold was pretty awesome. The most American thing might be when George Bush went out at Yankee Stadium in the World Series after 9/11 and threw a strike on the ceremonial first pitch. All of those would be, I think, appropriate answers. All right, the last one of the Garage Beer 6-pack.
What's your favorite drink?
Beer. I've got friends who've changed to whiskey, and I'll drink some bourbon and some whiskey once in a while. I've never been a wine guy. If I'm going to have something on a nice cold summer or a nice hot summer day, a nice cold beer fixes it. If it's not alcoholic, it's probably unsweetened iced tea. Either way, I'm in good shape and should be in good shape for the barbecue. Thanks for participating, John, in the Friday morning 6-pack brought to you by Garage Beer. This hour of our show is brought to you by Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. Let's celebrate this weekend together, please. All right, we'll talk about that when we come back.
Ferris Coffee has been family-owned and operated for over 100 years. Its popular Den Blend and Dark Roast is more than coffee and more than the official coffee of the Detroit Lions. It's a call to rise. Ferris Coffee and the Lions are the perfect match. They embrace those who show up early, cheer loud, and never back down. Den Blend is perfectly roasted in Grand Rapids and provides the ultimate fuel for fans who wake up and roar. Whether you're tailgating at the game or cheering from your couch, Den Blend is your go-to coffee for your game day ritual. Our state is Mecca for golf, and one of Michigan's crown jewels is Tullymore and St. Ives, two world-class championship courses in one charming and beautiful location. The golf is challenging but fair. You're going to use every club in your bag. But let me tell you what makes Tullymore really special. It's the people. From the wait staff to the bartenders to the pro shop and the management, their sole purpose is to give you a memorable experience, and they do. Go to TullymoreGolf.com today and experience a Michigan masterpiece.
Celebrate the soul of folk and Americana. The Lumineers Automatic World Tour comes to Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort Sunday night, July 19th, with special guest Josiah and the Bonnevilles, part of the Soaring Eagle Outdoor Summer Concert Series. Tickets start at $67 and are on sale now at the box office or online at etix.com. Showtime 8 p.m. See the Lumineers live with Josiah and the Bonnevilles, July 19th at Soaring Eagle Casino. SoaringEagleCasino.com.
Where are you watching the Tigers this year? Superfly Hayes here for Detroit Sportsnet. Sign up like the Ute Show did with the Detroit Sportsnet Tigers Wings package. Subscription info at tigers.com and MLB.com. Where are you watching the Tigers this year? Superfly Hayes here for Detroit Sportsnet. Sign up like the Ute Show did with the Detroit Sportsnet Tigers Wings package. Subscription info at tigers.com and MLB.com.
via text, and you can text the Sports Radio 21,000. Shep, how much is the new TV deal setting back the Tigers, Red Wings, and maybe even the Pistons, given that Fox Sports at the time seeing a little bit more stable than what they have right now? I don't think that it's unstable what they have right now. I mean, Major League Baseball is running the baseball side of things like they are with other networks, or I mean other teams, I should say. What'll be interesting will be the NHL and how they're going to handle that. So what you used to have is you should have the network. In this case, Fox Sports Detroit, could be Fox Sports Ohio, it could be a lot of different places in that 13-member colony. And you would have a producer and a director. They would all be local, and they would all be operating out of a truck that was at a ballpark. And oftentimes they would travel with you. And then, of course, you've got the talent associated with it. When I first started working for the network, they would travel a producer and a director and a graphics coordinator and an AD and the talent. All right. So play-by-play, color analyst, and reporter. They did all that. Then COVID hit. We found out we could do games remotely. They started saving money, did these networks, and you ended up traveling just a producer or a director. In our case, it was a director and the talent. That's it. They would travel an ENG. They would travel a one cameraman. So you really cut back an awful lot. You were giving, I think the Illich organization was making, I don't know, $80 million a year for Tigers and Red Wings, something along those lines. Now that that's gone, I don't know how much they're making. But I do know they're ranked 10th in Major League Baseball in spending. They spent more without the network than they did with it over the last 8 to 10 years. So I don't know how much that affects them. Pistons are going to be over the air, which is great for fans. What'll it mean for them? I don't know how much they're making off the deal. I don't know how much they're selling. And it'll be interesting to see what happens with the NHL and how that is handled. And I'm not saying right now that the Tigers broadcasts aren't handled by a local producer director. I think when the home games, even the road games, they're working through a control studio. Where that is, I don't know any longer because it used to be in Southfield. So it's a little unique now that the Major League Baseball is handling it. But from a financial standpoint, I don't think it doesn't seem to have mattered much as far as I can tell. Because the teams are still spending. Pistons spend. Red Wings spend. Red Wings just signed some guys. Okay. So by doing that, one guy, Colasar, they traded for, but others they've spent. Arvidsson, they signed to a contract. So obviously they got money coming in, right? Anyway, appreciate the text very much. Do want to get to the final results of our poll question from yesterday. John Ilk will look that up and get us that here in a moment. First, yesterday was a huge day. Because 250 years ago, on July 2nd, 1776, the Second Continental Congress voted to declare independence from Great Britain. It's probably put best when John Adams wrote to his wife on the very next day. This is when they wrote letters. This is what he wrote. The second day of July 1776 will be the most memorable epocha in the history of America. I am apt to believe that it will be celebrated by succeeding generations, which it has been, as the great anniversary festival. It ought to be commemorated as the day of deliverance by solemn acts of devotion to God Almighty. It ought to be solemnized with pomp and parade, with shoes and games and sports and guns and bells and bonfires and illuminations from one end of this continent to the other, from this time forward, forevermore. On July 4th, the delegates adopted the Declaration of Independence, and that has been the day for celebration ever since. Okay? The 13 colonies, population-wise, Virginia, Pennsylvania, Massachusetts, Maryland, North Carolina, Connecticut, New York, South Carolina, New Jersey, New Hampshire, Rhode Island, Delaware, and I believe Georgia. All right. The what is probably the most stunning aspect of this, and I hope they still teach this in history lessons in school throughout our country, who knows, but how old were some of those founding fathers? Our founding fathers, and it's great to celebrate. I've got it right here. Happy birthday, U.S., 250 years old. And more people are recognizing it. We hear a lot of bitching and moaning about our country. Then foreigners come into our country to celebrate the World Cup, and they give us a sharp reminder of how great we truly are. For something simple as free bread at restaurants, even though I didn't order it, that's all right. It comes free. Your meal is soon to follow. Oh my goodness, this butter is unbelievable. Free refills. This is fantastic. First time I've ever had barbecue. This is amazing. First time I've been to an American beach. It's as good as the beaches in Australia. It is awesome. The people here are nice and prideful and willing. All those things. We always complain and bitch and moan about our country because this person isn't good enough for us. And then you get somebody here for the first time ever and they say, you ought to really appreciate what you have because we have nothing like this. Air conditioning, for example. Free water. Clear water. Water in the desert. Out in Vegas. Anyway. Founding fathers. How wise were they at such a young age? Case in point, Alexander Hamilton, who was a founding father, was 21 years old in 1776 when he helped put this country on the map. When he helped do the unthinkable, he was 21. James Madison was 25. Thomas Jefferson was 33 years old when he signed the Declaration of Independence. John Hancock was 39. John Adams, who I just quoted in the letter to his wife, was 40. George Washington, as our first president, was 44. Patrick Henry was 40. Benjamin Franklin was the old man of the group. He was 70 years old. All right. So you have this. And this was the Echoes of War. This was written by the Echoes of War, and it was so well done. I couldn't help but think that this love letter, if you will, would be perfect for us to close out the show on this Friday, July 3rd. On July 2nd, 1776, the United States was born. All right. It's the day the Continental Congress voted to break from Britain. The vote came down to the wire. One man had to ride through the night to save it. Delaware's delegation was split, one for independence, one against, which meant the colony canceled itself out. The tiebreaker was Caesar Rodney, 80 miles away in Delaware. Got word that he was needed, rode all night, 80 miles. Today, you could do that in an hour. But he rode all night through a summer thunderstorm. He was sick. He was in pain. He still had boots and spurs on, and he made it into Philadelphia in time to cast Delaware's vote for independence. That was the difference. The other holdouts then fell into place. In Pennsylvania, the men most opposed, including John Dickinson, by the way, deliberately stayed away from the chamber so their colony could swing the vote to say yes. South Carolina came around for the sake of a united front. When the roll was eventually called, 12 colonies voted for independence, and not a single one voted against. New York abstained. They waited for permission from home, I guess. It's not too different now, I guess. They abstained from independence. So the colonies had legally, officially declared themselves free. The next day, Adams wrote his wife the letter I just told you about. Why do we celebrate our nation's birth on the 4th. It's really the 2nd. Why do we celebrate it on the 4th? Because that's the day Congress approved the final wording of the document explaining the decision, and thus the Declaration of Independence. So the vote was on the 2nd, but the declaration was 2 days later because they had to finalize the wording. The vote to be free actually happened on the 2nd. The paperwork, if you will, I guess we could call it the red tape, is finished on the 4th. So our country, the greatest on earth, was actually born in a rainstorm on a roll call on July 2nd. Thanks to a guy who was sick, was still in his boots, still in his spurs, and had to ride 80 miles to get it done. Pretty cool stuff. You know, you talk about the American Revolution. You talk about the guys who were most influential in our country. George Washington led the Continental Army through Valley Forge, Yorktown Victory, Commander-in-Chief, right? Thomas Jefferson, author of the Declaration of Independence. He drafted that, established ideals in life and liberty and so on and so forth. John Adams, who was an advocate and for independence and diplomacy. Benjamin Franklin, a diplomat and a statesman, secured the French alliance. Alexander Hamilton, an artillery officer, by the way, and key staff aide, big on strong national government and economic stability. So from day one, they had that going and making sure that we are able to live as free as we do today. Just wanted to share that with you because I think it was pretty awesome when kind of researched that and found some really well done videos and well crafted historical significance for us to celebrate 250 days or 250 years, I should say, of independence. Let's get to the final results of our poll question, shall we? John, you got those?
Yes, I do.
Here's what we asked you yesterday. It's the Mitch Lyons Wealth poll question of the day. We asked you, what does the USA World Cup win to reach the round of 16 do for you? Were you a new soccer fan? Were you still not interested, or are you indifferent? That was the question. What were the results, John?
I'm a bigger soccer fan, one with 41.8%. Indifferent finished second with 38.8%, and still not interested with 19.4%.
Okay. All right. So it's gaining some momentum. It's gaining some pride. The social media aspect does help, I'll guarantee you, because we've seen players sending out things like them on the bus and singing certain songs, and it's kind of refreshing. I'm not going to follow soccer moving forward, but I will watch Monday. When they play next, they play on Monday in Seattle. It should be absolutely bananas there. It'll be incredibly loud. That stadium is already loud, right? But that is something that I think a lot of people are starting to take pride in. Now, we don't have a daily wager brought to you by Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort and their sportsbook Ascend. And the reason we don't have a daily wager yet is because it's a weekend wager, really. What Andy McDonald chose to do is bet on JT Poston at the latest golf tournament. JT Poston will tee off about 123 today. He shot a 3 under 63 at the John Deere Classic. He is only 5 shots back. Zach Johnson is actually your leader because Zach Johnson just finished one and birdied it. And he's at 8 under par. And he's tied with Lucas Glover and Zach Blair. Both those gentlemen tee off a little bit later on. For Lucas Glover, he tees off at 134. Zach Blair, 156. It's a signature event. And I'm a big golf fan, but if it's a signature event, you would think you would have bigger names then. And I like Chris Gotterup, but you would think you had bigger names than Chris Gotterup, bigger names than Harry Higgs, bigger names than a Ben Griffin type player. Max Homa's in it, but I don't think he's a big name. Tony Finau's in it. That's a big name. But I'm sorry, you're going to have more than, Tom Kim and Daniel Berger in such a signature event. Now, I don't expect guys like Scotty Scheffler and Rory McIlroy to be in every event. That's just not possible. Those guys, everybody needs, I know it's golf. I know you and I would both say, oh my God, I could make my living playing golf. Yeah, that's because you and I play maybe, 3 times a week if we're lucky. Me, it's 2. It's 1 full 18 and maybe a 9-hole on a Saturday morning. So that would be fantastic. These guys got to play 4 full rounds every week if they're lucky, if they make the cut. That doesn't include the practice round, the pro-am, and all the practicing that they have to do. And I love golf as much as anybody. I hate going to the range. If you want to get better, you got to go to the range. If you want to get better, you should work on your putting stroke. I don't do those things. So that's why I'm stuck in the low 80s. I wish it could be better than that. I would love to tell you on a regular basis, I break 80. I don't, because I don't put the work in. So you and I would say, man, I'd love to do that. But these guys need to, get re-energized, if you will. And I think with a signature event like the John Deere Classic, some of these events are probably getting a little concerned. We're going to feel it at the Rocket. Okay. The Rocket Classic is coming up in Metro Detroit. And we know that you got the Open Championship prior to, because it happens July 30th through August 2nd. And then soon afterwards, you're going to have the FedEx St. Jude Championship. You're going to have the President's Cup. You're going to have a couple of other big-time events. But guys, with the amount of tournaments that have been completed, there have been, let's see, the Century, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 was the Masters. 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21 was the PGA. 22, 23, 24, 25, 26 was the U.S. Open. 27 was the Travelers. This is number 28 on their schedule. And they still have to play all the way through October 8th. You're talking about, 40 plus events, close to 50 events. That's a lot when you're playing 4 days a week and getting ready for that 4-day-a-week challenge that you're about to have. No challenge for us on this Friday. It was a lot of fun. As always, we appreciate the feedback. We always appreciate the opportunity. Our thanks to John Elk. John, have a great holiday, my friend. Hope you get a chance to rest up and do what you want to do most, and it's well-deserved. We'll see you back here Monday morning, 6 o'clock here on X's and Bros on the Michigan Sports Network. Happy birthday, America.
Huge here for the Michigan High School Athletic Association. You can stay up to date on the latest from Lansing 24/7 at MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. The latest news, press releases, and stories connected to every high school in the state of Michigan available for you.